What's up, everybody? Matt Gajewski here, back with the Awesemo channel, talking some PrizePicks college football ahead of Saturday, week 3. We are going to hit the main slate of games taking place on Saturday all day, and our friends over at PrizePicks have plenty on deck for us to choose from. Before we get started, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all other content goes live. We'll be bringing you 4 props today, and I want to start in the run game, where we have an interesting situation. Minnesota taking on Colorado, and Trayson Potts, 91.5 rushing yards, a prop that is really low considering how Minnesota likes to play. Now, they did lose their starting running back, Mohamed Ibrahim, to a torn Achilles, and they inserted Trey Potts into a 1-for-1 role, something I was not expecting. Trey Potts carried 34 times in week 2, and that is not an exaggeration. 34 times. The backup running backs combined for 5 attempts total, with Potts dominating opportunities. He already has 215 yards on the ground total, averaging 107 per game. And Colorado has a stout defense. They were able to mostly keep Texas A&M in check. But when you have Trey Potts receiving 34 carries, this guy can average 3 yards per carry, somewhere around there, and still backdoor his way into this bonus. So Trey Potts over 91.5 yards will be the first one. From there, we are going to pivot to the quarterback position, look at some passing yardage props, and we're going to go to one single game. Miami, Michigan State. You have both D'Eriq King and Peyton Thorne a bit under projected here, considering the type of offenses these two teams run. Starting with the Michigan State team, they're a team last year that didn't get to play as many games. They were going through flux a lot, and they passed the ball 52% of the time. So far this year, they've played Northwestern and Youngstown State, and they've passed only 43% of the time. But this projects to be a far more competitive game against Miami, who with Rhett Lashley as OC, who's been up-tempo. Last year, they were 33rd in plays per game, and they were 49% pass. That was 50th in the country. Both these teams, above average in pace, above average in pass rate. Their defensive numbers look fantastic to start the year, but that mainly has to do to level of competition. Miami's actually struggled a little bit, of course, against Alabama. That's going to happen, but they allowed 23 points to Appalachian State as well. With D'Eriq King, in his career, you have a very efficient passer and somebody that looked a lot better in week 2 going up against the Michigan State defense. So King, over 227 passing yards makes a lot of sense. With Peyton Thorne, you have the same thing. On Michigan State, already mentioned, very pass-heavy, but Anthony Russo is hurt. So there's no longer any job concerns for Peyton Thorne. They had been rotating a little bit to start the year. Peyton Thorne has this all to himself. He's been extremely efficient as well. 65% of his passes have been completed for 10.1 yards per attempt, and he's throwing to one of the better receiving tandems in the entire Big Ten in Jaden Reed and Jalen Naylor. This does correlate. I think you can honestly mix these together with other games on the slate as well. D'Eriq King and Peyton Thorne both over on their passing yards makes a lot of sense to me. And the final one we'll give you a receiving prop. We're going to have to go down a little bit for this one to find Notre Dame's tight end, Michael Mayer. Now, we're going to scroll down and find this one. This is a particular one that's of note to me because Mayer has really emerged as the leading receiver for Notre Dame overall. And this is one you can find at a very good line. It's sitting in the 60s as soon as I can find it here, 67.5. Looking at Notre Dame, they're a team that's been in a lot of shootouts because their defense hasn't held up. And Michael Mayer is receiving 34% of the targets. It's not a one-week anomaly either. He had 13 targets in week 1, 9 targets in week 2. He has 201 receiving yards on the year. He is dwarfing the second-place receiver in targets and receiving yards, and it's not even close. Michael Mayer just being used as an alpha receiver, a huge mismatch that linebackers and safeties can't really cover due to size-speed combination that Mayer possesses. Purdue is going to be a difficult matchup for Notre Dame. If we look at Purdue, they're very fast and they're very pass-heavy. Both Notre Dame and Purdue are passing the ball 52% of the time, well above average, and they are both well above average in plays per game. Purdue at 78 plays per game, Notre Dame at 77.5. So there should be a lot of opportunities for Michael Mayer to get it done here in the receiving game with an 8-point spread projected. But that'll do it for us today. Those are your 4 prize picks. Make sure to check them out. All sorts of contests available and players ready for you to choose for college football ahead of week 3. I am Matt Gajewski on Twitter at Matt_Gajewski. We will see you guys again next time.